Hello all. Today we will discuss about neurotechnology and brain-computer interface. Neurotechnology is in news because Elon Musk recently announced that his firm Neurotech has installed a chip inside the brain of first test subject. Neurotech had got approval from the US regulatory agency FDA last year in May 2023. This development is a remarkable feat in the field of medical science, especially in the treatment of neurological disorders. At the same time, there are profound concerns regarding the misuse of the technology in terms of manipulation of human identity or the violation of privacy rights. Like other disruptive technologies like AI, this is a technology that requires controlled regulation. We will discuss all these aspects of this in this video. So let's begin. Neurotechnology involves devices which interface with the nervous system. When we say interface, it means that they can pick up the signals that are used by our nervous system to communicate with the various parts of the body. And these signals are picked up and are passed on to an external system like a computer. The computer can then monitor and modulate these signals to control the neuroactivity of the brain and the nervous system. You can see in this image there are devices that are put inside the brain which are communicating with the computer, and the computer uses a signal to control the prosthetic arm that has been put on the person. We will discuss everything in the upcoming slides. Before we go further, we first need to understand the working of the nervous system. Our brain contains millions of cells which are called neurons. Neurons work together in large networks and communicate using electrochemical signals. These signals are produced, electrochemical means that these signals are produced both as chemical as well as electricity. And these signals are used to transfer information from one neuron to the other to complete the communication. And these signals are then used to coordinate and control the processes in the body like sight, hearing, smell, movement, or metabolism. And you can also see synapse. Synapse is a point in the neurons where one neuron is connected to the other neuron. And it is here that the BCI systems, the brain computer interface systems, pick up the electrical signals. Here we are showing you the working of the brain computer interface system. As told in the previous slide, the chips that are installed in the brain, they pick up the synaptic response. Synaptic response means where the signal is transformed from one neuron to the other. This image shows the comparison of the working of the brain as well as how the BCI system works. In a normal condition, when our brain is thinking of something, for example, the brain thinks that they have to switch on the table lamp. So what that does is the neurons send the signal to the limb, and the limb moves and switch on the lamp. But in a BCI, the chip picks up this signal and sends the signal to the external computer, which then executes that. Now there are concerns that with this technology, the computers can actually read our mind, but that is not the case. You see, at present, through the work of neuroscientists who have been analyzing the human brain for the last 50 odd years, they have developed patterns of the brain activity to certain external stimuli. So what they have done is that they have divided our brain into various segments. Each segment is responsible for a particular function. For example, motor control. Motor control is responsible for the movement of limbs. Similarly, a particular part of brain is responsible for language or reading or vision or smell or hearing. So what the BCI system do is that they are able to interpret which part of brain is active. And once they realize that a particular segment is active, they interpret and execute the system accordingly. For example, they may see that the part of the brain which is related to motor control is active. So what they'll do is they'll interpret this signal and then pass on the signal to the other neurons so that the it will be executed. It is just like what we had shown in the previous slide, that the brain signal will, the BCI system will pick up the signal in the motor part of the brain, and then they'll send the signal to execute to output. Now, the brain computer interface systems are divided into two types. One is non-invasive, the other one are invasive. Non-invasive systems are installed on the external part of the brain, so they do not require any surgery. They are placed outside the scalp. You must have seen the iconic scene in the movie Matrix where Morpheus is being questioned by Agent Smith. You can see that they are analyzing his activity through the sensors that have been put outside the brain. So this is a non-invasive technology. But what Neuralink has done at this moment is that they have undertaken a brain surgery and installed a chip inside the brain under the scalp. And the chip is picking the signals directly from the brain and communicating it to the computer attached to it outside the body. Now, coming to the benefits of neurotechnology. As said earlier, this is a remarkable feat which has the potential to revolutionize neurological disorders. First of all, they can, for example, lots of persons suffering from neurological disorders are unable to move their limbs. They are unable to control their legs or their hands. With this technology, this challenge can be overcome because the signals, the BCI will be able to correct that disorder and pass on the signals externally, which will then be used to control the prosthetic limbs, as was seen in the first image in the first slide. I'll just go there once again. See here, the signals will be passed on to the computer. Computer will send this to the actuator, which is the prosthetic limb has been put on the person. So this disability can be cured through the BCI systems. Similarly, the BCI systems can monitor and our mental health as well, because as explained earlier, there are different segments of brain which deal with each function, and when we feel stressed or are facing through a mental disorder, a particular part of the brain is active. The technology will interpret these signals and they'll be able to tell whether a person is under a mental stress or not. And with this, we can monitor and take appropriate steps for the treatment of the disorder. Similarly, anyone who is suffering from speech impairment can be corrected through this disease. And apart from the issues like health issues, the technology also provides an exciting economic opportunity in future. And various analysts have estimated that by 2030, this industry will be worth US $30 billion. But there are associated concerns as well. The first one of it is the risks to patients' life. The technology is still at a very early stage, and there is a possibility that the materials installed inside the brain may damage the neurons, and it can have a very profound impact on the working of the brain, and it can lead to permanent damage as well, which can lead to disabilities. Apart from the direct impact on the patient's life, there are other ethical concerns. The first one is, as the technology progresses, there may be a possibility that it may be able to manipulate brain functions. Just like they can interpret the signals, we can send external signals to stimulate a particular part of the brain and manipulate its functioning. Similarly, the signals can be external signals or external stimuli can be used to manipulate the identity or the dignity of the brain. Apart from that, there are chances of violation of privacy because the BCI systems will capture a lot of information about a person's brain. For example, a person might be particularly excited about, say, consuming pizza. He might be feel very relaxed, or he may be feel very excited. The company who has access to information to this information can pass it on to food agencies, and they can use it for targeting advertising. So there is a possibility of manipulation of the privacy by sharing of data. Another aspect is that the technology is expected to be very expensive, and it will create an issue related to equitable access and fairness. And it is a possibility that the large section of the people who are suffering from neurological disorders may find it unaffordable to access this technology. And then there is a issue related to neuro rights. Neuro rights are rights which are directly related to rights of the individual in the context of neurotechnology. Now, 5 rights have been proposed. One is that personal identity, that the technology should not be used to manipulate an identity of a person. Second is equal access, the issue of fair and equitable access, like we just discussed. The third one is that the free will, that the technology should not be used to manipulate the free will of a person, and they should be able to take their decisions independently. Mental privacy, again, the sharing of the data externally, which can be used for commercial purposes. And finally, protection against the biases. Just like AI is said to have biases against persons of color or gender, neurotechnology can have similar biases, and we have to be guarded against it. So, friends, in the end, we would like to conclude that this technology is remarkable in its possibilities, but at the same time, there are deep concerns related to its misuse. Like AI, there is a need to have a global coordinated response related to its regulation so that the misuse of the technology can be minimized and the technology is used for positive purposes for the betterment of the humanity. Please give your comments about how the video was and what suggestions you provide for further improvement. Thank you.